They might be called dumb canes, but they ain't dumb. Hi planty friends, thank you so much for joining me on this video. I'm Min. I love to take care, propagate plants and share my plant caring tips on this channel. If you like this kind of content, please hit the likes button. Consider subscribing so more content about plants can be created for your entertainment and knowledge as well. Today I like to talk about Dieffenbachia, otherwise known as dumb canes. Now these are very highly toxic plants and they're called dumb cane because the sap in the plant can constrict the throat and that can cause a loss of voice. So certainly these are highly toxic and I don't recommend dumb canes for any household that have young children or curious pets. And certainly recommend that if you are handling a dumb cane, please wash your hands afterwards as well. So let's start. When it comes to lighting, dumb canes are tolerant to a whole range of lighting, from low light all the way to bright indirect sunlight. They certainly do not cope with direct sunlight because direct sunlight can burn the leaves. When they're in a low light, what can happen is that if there is not enough light, they will still survive, but the leaves may not grow as large. The actual variegation in the leaves may not be as vibrant either, especially dumb canes like this one here, which is called a sea change. It has a lot of white through it. So this kind of dumb cane that has a lot of white variegation through it tend to need more lighting compared to say this one here, which is called a tropical Marianne. It has a lot of green through it. So this plant here, a tropical Marianne, is more tolerant to low light. When it comes to bright indirect light, these plants flourish in bright indirect sunlight and they can grow a lot quicker and the leaves can be a lot larger as well. When it comes to temperature, dumb canes come from the tropical rainforest, so they do like warm temperatures. So the minimum temperature I would recommend is 60 Fahrenheit, and which is roughly around about 15 degrees. And that's the lowest I would place a dumb cane in. And they can live all the way up to temperatures of 80 Fahrenheit, which is roughly around about 26 degrees. And when it comes to soil, so I like to put my dumb cane in a soil mixture that is well draining, but still enough to maintain moisture so that the plant still has enough time to absorb the water. So with a lot of my tropical plants, I tend to use a mixture that consists of 50% premium potting mix, 30% orchid mix, and 20% perlite. So I like the soil mixture that is well draining but still holding its moisture so the plant can still absorb the water. When it comes to fertilizing, dumb cane, I tend to fertilize all my plants if I see it growing, whether it's the growing season or the off season. If I see my plant is still growing, I will fertilize it. And fertilizing is important because for the plant to grow big, luscious leaves, it does need its nutrients. I tend to use a quarter strength of liquid fertilizer when I'm watering the plant. And these days with a dumb cane, to avoid damage to the roots from fertilizing, I tend to water the plant first before I fertilize the plant. I also started using things like worm casting and as a natural fertilizer as well, and I find that helps and that prevents the actual plant from being damaged from synthetic fertilizers. When it comes to things like problems and pests, they are prone to things like thrips, aphids, mealybugs as well. So if I tend to check my plants regularly. I'm a bit of a helicopter mum, which is sometimes good but sometimes not great either. And if I find that if there's any pests on the plant, I would treat it immediately. So if it's like mealybugs, I would certainly wash all the leaves and treat it with a solution that consists of neem oil in it. So my treatment usually with the solution I use contains 1 litre of water, 10% or 10 mils of dishwashing solution, and also 10 mils of neem oil. And I find that if I spray it on the leaves and then wipe it, that really helps to get rid of pests. When it comes to fungus, the only time I really find an issue with fungus is that if the soil is too wet or it's in the area that's too humid. So dumb canes do like the humidity, and they tend to like humidity above 50%. But when humidity gets, I find that when humidity gets about 80%, then they're more prone to fungus issues. And I certainly don't miss the plant, because I find with my plants, what I've found out during my plant journey is that if I miss the plant, it tends to be more likely for the leaves to end up with fungus on it. So I certainly don't miss the plant. And honestly, for a household to get humidity around 80%, a humidifier needs to be used. So generally with households, generally with humidity, I haven't had an issue with it. Just using, placing in a household is great, is normal. If you do find that humidity is too low, then the edges of the leaves can become brown. And if you do find that's an issue because of low humidity, then I would just recommend grouping the plants near each other or putting on a tray of pebble and water. But honestly, with dumb canes, for my experience anyway, I haven't had an issue with having low humidity. And when it comes to propagation, so propagating dumb canes, they're very easy to propagate. So all you need to do to propagate a dumb cane is, if I take this for example, so you want to find an area that has 3 leaves coming out of it. So this one here actually has, if I lift it up so you can see clearer, so this stem here actually has 3 leaves coming out of it. You don't want to cut the top, you want to go as far away down the bottom as possible to cut it, and then pop that propagation, that stem propagation in water, and just change the water once a week and pop that propagation in an area that receives bright indirect sunlight and is warm as well. And you generally find that in about 6 weeks, the roots should start to grow, and then it can be transferred into soil, and just keep the soil moist as well. When it comes to things like watering, I find that dumb canes like their soil to be moist but never soggy, and that's what I find with most plants. So I tend to leave my dumb cane to the point where it's almost dry but not completely dry. So I put my finger as far down to the pot as possible, and if I find it's moist, I'll leave it alone. If I find it's dry, that's when I water it. And you can also tell when a dumb cane needs watering by the way the leaves are. So the leaves will tell you if the plant needs to be watered. So you find that if a dumb cane needs to be watered, then the actual leaves tend to droop. So the leaves tend to droop down, and that's the time to water the plant. Unfortunately, if you do leave it too long, what can happen is that the bottom leaves can go brown and fall off. And when you also find that if the leaves start to go yellow, that can be a sign of overwatering as well. So these days I always test my soil to make sure whether the plant needs to be watered, and also by looking at the plant as well. So that's my care tips on a dumb cane, otherwise known as a Dieffenbachia. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time in the next video. You all take care, and thank you so much for watching the video and supporting the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.